Into the fast lane on the SportsMax zone. The debates are intensifying after American number one Sha'Carri Richardson stunned the world's fastest woman for 2023, Jamaica's Shericka Jackson, over 100 meters at the Wanda Diamond League meet in Silesia, Poland on Sunday. The 23-year-old Richardson flew by Jackson in the last 20 meters, denying the world 200-meter champion victory on her 29th birthday. Richardson clocking 10.76 to Jackson's 10.78. It was the second time this season that Richardson was defeating Jackson, having done so at the Doha Diamond League meet on the 5th of May. This latest result increasing interest in the women's 100 meters for the World Championships in Budapest, Hungary, which starts on the 19th of August. Joining in the many debates about who is the favorite going into Worlds is our in-house track and field analyst and senior writer at SportsMax.tv, none other than the one and only Leighton Levy. Leighton Levy, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Ricardo. Welcome back to the zone. I mean, I had to fill in for you for a couple of days. It wasn't a bad deal, but, you know, good to see you back on set.
I heard you did a great job. But let's talk about...
straightened a lot, too.
What he said?
I don't think Mariah heard you, Leighton.
I missed that, Leighton.
No, I was threatened a lot, too, after my appearance last week. Read that Elaine Thompson story.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Unfortunate that some individuals just don't understand that we have a job to do and we carry out that job in the best way possible. And we mean no harm. And in truth, even when there is no harm, it can go like that. But Leighton, at the risk of being threatened, can you assess yesterday's race for us, that 100-meter race between Sha'Carri Richardson and Shericka Jackson? How did you see it?
It was a good race. I think Shericka got a pretty good start, and but she looked a little bit heavy, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on. But Shakari, as she has done all season, has showed that her speed endurance has improved a lot over the last couple of seasons. She's running more consistently, 10.71 between 10.71 and 10.76. And it tells you that she's finally ready this year to compete against the Jamaicans, who have dominated over the past couple of seasons. And I think a more focused and seemingly calmer Sha'Carri Richardson is going to be somebody who will be a threat, a legitimate threat to the Jamaican dominance in this event over the past 3 or 4, in fact, the past decade, actually. And but, there's a lot still happening in the next 4 to 5 weeks, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, very much the case. Let me put the question to you directly then, Leighton. Having beaten the fastest woman in the world this year twice at different stages of the season, the 5th of May, early part of the outdoor season for professional athletes, and now on the 16th of July, 4 weeks out from the World Championships, is Sha'Carri Richardson the favorite for the women's 100 meters in Budapest?
You could argue that she would be the favorite. I don't necessarily think she is the favorite because Shericka Jackson has run 10.65. And what we've seen over the last couple of seasons from Shericka Jackson, her season last year has been trending in a similar pattern towards this as this season has been. 10.77 at the trials last year, 10.71 at the Worlds, 10.65 at trials this year. With the 5 weeks to go, you have to wonder how fast she's going to go. One of the things that let me address this while I'm trying to analyze this situation for a lot of people, because I see people saying that Shericka Jackson eased up at the end of the race. She did not ease up. If you look at her arms, she was driving as hard as she normally does at the end of races and tried to keep her knees up and everything. If anything, she got a little bit tight. But I think there's a plausible explanation for what happened to Shericka on Sunday, in Silesia. And I think something has to do with how the MVP club prepares their athletes for major championships. What we do know is that in years when there are major championships, they train through the cycle. They don't lighten the load because to allow their athletes to compete on the circuit and compete well on the circuit. That's not the plan. The plan is always to bring your best performance at major championships. So they will train through the cycle. And that means sometimes athletes will run very well, and sometimes they won't necessarily be as good as we expect them to be. But when you look at what Shericka Jackson did at the national championships, 10.65, that race was as close to perfect as she was going to get. I mean, there's still a few little issues that she has to work out. But this time was a full tenth of a second slower than that time last week. So the explanation is that, I mean, she would have traveled from Jamaica after that, the load of the championships, 3 rounds of the 100, 2 rounds of the 200, then flown all the way to Europe, and then perhaps over the last couple of days would have gone back into a heavy cycle as they prepare to start tapering in maybe the next couple of weeks towards the World Championships. So that one of the reasons why I think she looked heavy is because she may have been heavy. And so, that may account for how Sha'Carri caught her late in the race. Have you noticed, in the race in Doha in May, Ricardo, Sha'Carri caught her at about 80 and then separated herself from her. This time, it was closer to the finish line. The reason being that Shericka is gradually tapering her way off to possibly something a lot faster than 10.65. Sha'Carri has been consistent at 10.7 between 10.71 and 10.76, which means that she's going to be in the mix.
Yeah.
She and I think Marie-Jose Tulu are going to be in the mix. But will they be as fast as Shericka Jackson in 5 weeks? I don't think so. Not necessarily.
Yeah, so for, I guess, the casual follower of track and field, and maybe even those who follow closely, Leighton, would listen to you and they would be saying, okay, so you're saying Shericka Jackson will taper off, she will peak for the World Championships. Do you then not have the same level of confidence that Sha'Carri Richardson will be capable of doing the same?
Absolutely. Here's the thing, though. One of the things that we see from the American sprinters is that they start running fast from the start of the season, and they continue running fast to the start of this, which suggests to me that they're in a kind of almost like a mesocycle period from the start of the season right through after the background season where they did all the hard work. They're kind of in that mesocycle phase where they're running fast consistently, then ready for a taper at the end, as it approaches the major championships. But what we've seen in the last decade, especially from 2008 right through till last year, is that when especially the Jamaican women start to taper, they're significantly faster at major championship than the U.S. athletes. We've seen it from Tori Edwards coming right through. The Americans run fast, and then at the major championships, they tend not to be as fast as they were during the course of the season. For whatever reason, it could be fatigue, the fact that they've been running fast so long, the ability to hold that peak for as long as they try to. It doesn't work out for major championships when you have rounds involved instead of a one-off race. So that could be a factor as well. The thing is that what we have seen time and time again, whether it's Elaine Thompson, whether it's Shelley and Fraser Price, whether it's Shericka Jackson. Remember, Shericka Jackson, for example, ran 21.55 at the national championships last year. She was a full tenth of a second faster after 3 rounds in the 200 in Oregon. So that tends to be what we get from the Jamaican women sprinting in the last decade or so. So it is not implausible to believe that Shericka Jackson could be heading into the World Championship, averaging about 10.65, or looking to run 10.65 or faster in the final, similar to what we expect from Shelley and Fraser Price, who opens on her 100-meter season on Thursday in Spain. So while Sha'Carri is running fast and maybe even going to be tapering into the World Championships, what we know for a fact is that the Jamaicans do it a lot better than the American women have been.
Right, and Leighton, what I'm getting from you is we shouldn't be too worried based on this result because, of course, everybody is ready to figure out who is the favorite, and rightfully so, because when you see Shericka, the form that she's been in, and, we've spoken very, very highly about her, it just makes you go into panic, if you don't understand the sport, if I'm to say that. Yeah,
look, the casual track and field fans see people racing and see who wins a race and who doesn't.
And that's it.
That's what matters for them.
Yeah.
But when you look at where the big money element is, these are the championship years. When you go into championships, you're going to want to be at your best. So, what we've seen, if you look at what we've seen since 2008, there are only, I think, twice that a non-Jamaican has won a major championship. Tori Bowie in 2017, I think Carmelita Jetta 1 year.
2011.
And of course, yeah. And who was the other person?
Yeah, 2017 and 2011.
Yeah, and that's it. Other than that, it's either been Shelley and Fraser Price or Shericka Jackson or Elaine Thompson-Herah.
So, well, not Shericka yet at the 100.
In the 100, but certainly in the 200.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing, though, is that the the Jamaican methodology, or the MVP slash elite performance methodology, brings a better result when it comes to major championships. And in real terms, not this year, but I don't expect it to change.
Right, and Leighton, at the top of the show, I spoke about how Sha'Carri has really, really impressed me, and I'm sure all the followers of her, because to watch a young woman come from the turmoil that she was expressing previously, and I say that because, she was in the headlines for everything negative, Leighton, and the fact that she could pull herself together and now be competing, even winning the races at this level. Talk to us or remind us, because I'm sure you spoke about it before, about the changes that she has made that has led her to this positive conversation now, a conversation about winners.
Yeah, man. So go back to 2019 when she won the NCAA title for LSU in her freshman year. And I was telling people that this girl is legitimately fast. And they were scoffing because we tend not to want to accept the idea that people can challenge our Jamaican woman. But she had her issues, the last couple of years, especially during the pandemic, the whole drama surrounding herself and Janice Brown, and her drama surrounding the loss of her mother and the weed issue at the U.S. trials prior to the Olympic Games, where she was then omitted from the U.S. team because she tested positive for marijuana. This season, what we've seen from Sha'Carri Richardson is a lot calmer, a lot more centered, a lot stronger, and a lot more focused individual. She's calmer now. She even congratulated Shericka on her birthday yesterday after the race. She's now the person that we all expected to see from 3 or 4 years ago. She went through her turmoil, and she's found her peace. And what we've seen now is that she's found her peace and her focus. She is the athlete many of us expected her to be, which is fast, consistently fast, dangerously fast, and somebody who could possibly challenge the world record. And I think what we've seen from her so far this season, unbeaten in the 100 meters, makes her, as I said previously, legitimately a medal contender for the World Championships in Budapest and for the Olympics next year in Paris and going forward, because she's the next best thing. Shericka Jackson is 29 years old yesterday. This girl is 23, and she has her entire future ahead of her. And thankfully, she found her focus before it was too late. Because look, we have a lot of young sprinters coming up, but Sha'Carri Richardson, for me, has always been perhaps the most talented of all the young sprinters coming through. And I think right now she's beginning to live up to those expectations.
Yeah, I'll say that Leighton, she is growing, she is maturing. I'm not sure that she is completely there yet. There is clearly still work to do, but the direction that she is trending right now, you would have to suggest is the right direction. Also, yeah. I've been impressed this season as well with the way she has been managed, because there have been questions in the past about her management structure, and her management allowing her to do some of the things that she has done in the past. But I think you are seeing development and growth in that area as well. And one of the things that strike me, for example, is the decision not to have her race in Jamaica in what could have been a potentially volatile situation at the Racers Grand Prix, and she would not have taken that opportunity. So that was a big move for me as well. Want to ask you this one, though. Do you subscribe to the thinking that Sha'Carri struggles with the rounds, and that could be a major factor when she gets to Budapest?
It's a thought, because what we saw from at the U.S. Championships, for example, 10-71 in the first round, 10-75 in the semifinals, and then 10-82 in the finals, she's going to have to learn to manage the rounds a lot better. Typically, though, we've seen from the Americans over the years that they tend to run sometimes their best races in the semifinals. We saw Tyson Gay do that against Usain Bolt. We saw Justin Gatlin do it against Usain Bolt. We've seen Carmelita Jetta do that against Veronica and Shelley. So I think the Americans have this thing where they try to intimidate early by running fast times. But what they've found over the past decade is that those fast times in the previous rounds don't really shake anybody anymore, because everybody across the globe now are running as fast. Toulouse 10.75s as well. And we've seen more and more sprinters coming through, not being intimidated by the American tactic, I believe, of running fast to shake the boots off their competitors. So if she does not work that out and tries to run too fast going through the rounds, she could end up embarrassing herself in the finals when really matters when all the eggs are in the basket and everything is on the line. If she runs too fast and tires her legs out going into the final, she could find herself either just off the podium or just on it. And so she has to be careful about how she manages her rounds, because if she does what she did at the US trials, she's gonna be disappointed in Budapest, because you can't run 10-7-1 in the first round when it doesn't really matter, or 10-75 in the semifinals when it doesn't really matter except just qualify for the finals. You run one race. The other heats are just preliminaries that get you to the final. The final is where you bring your best stuff. And if she doesn't learn that from the US trials in terms of that example, she's probably going to end up, with a bronze medal instead of possible gold in Budapest this summer.
Yeah, let's see how that one will work out, Leighton. Of course, the world is watching on Thursday to see what the Mommy Rocket, Shelley and Fraser-Pryce, does in their 100 season opener. Quick couple of questions before you go. Johan Blake, 10:01 to finish 5th in the 100 meters yesterday. A season's fifth. A season's best for him. Did that performance surprise you, given his 10:31 at the Nationals?
No, it didn't. If you look at what his times, with the exception of the national championships, which were an anomaly in his progression this season, every single time he stepped on the track, he's been running gradually faster, which is one of the reasons why it's such a disappointment that he was disqualified before starting the national championships and he get a chance to run in the final. Not that he probably would have won, but he probably would have been in the top 3. The thing is that now that he's running free of the responsibility of getting to Worlds, and of course he doesn't. He said it in when we got a question about this fake story that was running around that he was soon showing the J3s. He said his only focus now is 2024, trying to get to the Olympics team. So for him to run 10:01 was not much of a surprise, because it's where I expected him to be at the national championships last week.
Yeah, some individuals are asking, Leighton, why is Johan Blake running the 100 when he still has a legitimate shot at making the Jamaican team at 200 meters if he can meet the qualifying standard of 20.16? He
won't. And I think he knows that as well. Johan Blake is not the Johan Blake that we saw in 2011 through to 2012 before he picked up that 2014 before he picked up that injury. He doesn't have the speed endurance anymore. I think he knows that as well. We saw him run flat out and run 20.5 at the national championships. Andrew Hudson separated himself from them so easily down the stretch. Johan is no longer a 200-meter sprinter. He's not the elite sprinter he used to be. I think his best shot is at the 100, and I think he blew that opportunity when he first started. The thing is that I still think he is a quality 100-meter sprinter, not necessarily a world beater anymore, but I think he's still a quality 100-meter sprinter. And I think before the end of the season, he will break 10 seconds. But the thing is that I think he missed his opportunity last week, Friday night.
Yeah, Leighton, we could talk track and field for this entire show, but we're out of time. So thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure speaking with you as usual.
As usual. I'm glad to see you back. And welcome back, Mariah.
Thank you,
Always
Leighton.
good to have you in studio.
Yeah, I'm shocked that you didn't stay to chat with me on set, but we'll talk about that.
All right, you'll see me tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah, of course, by the way, in that Diamond League on Sunday, the world champion Fred Curley beaten by the South African Akani Simbine. That men's 100 is looking quite open. We take a break. We'll go back with more on the SportsMax Zone.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.